right? See, static context in Java. So the static context in Java are classified into they're classified into four types. One is you have something like static variables. Okay. Second one you have static methods. Okay. Third one you have static blocks. Fourth one you have something like static import. So understanding these four categories will be like we complete all the topics related to the static context. Okay, let us understand about static variables first. Let's see its behavior. Static variables. So, what is a static variable? Any variable, when it is declared with the static keyword, it is called a static variable, right? So, you have a class, right? In your class, you when you declare a variable like integer a equal to 100, so this variable is called as the instance variables. Instance variable. The moment you start using the static keyword, okay, this variable becomes the static variable, right? And look at the declaration. It is declared inside the class, but it is not part of any method block or constructor block or any static block, right? It is just declared in the inside the class, but outside the method. It is static keyword. Okay, I hope you are understanding this. So what is the static variables? I can say that when a variable is placed outside the method or constructor or any other block, but inside the class, and the variable has to be declared with the static keyword. The variable has to be declared with the static keyword. It is called as static variable. Okay, first point is very clear. So there are few more points that we need to make. The second point is this is very important point. Static variables are recognized and executed. Static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory. Second point, I will give you the justification for each and every point. Okay. The third point is static variables or shareable data. Static variables or shareable data, which means which would be shared among different objects. Should be shared among different objects. Okay. Okay, let us understand each and every point. The first point is very clear, so I don't think much explanation is required for the first point. And look at the second point. The static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory. Right? So now you see, guys. Let me take a small code. Let me remove all this not required. Okay, let me remove all this not required. So I have a concrete task. I mean, I have a simple class by the name of B, and I have a main method. So inside my class, I am taking a variable. This is a static variable. It is static integer a equal to 100. Okay. Static integer a equal to 100. And I am also taking what? I am also taking an instance variable. Okay. I'm also taking an instance variable. Integer b equal to 200. Okay. Now you see here. Me. Okay guys, so I have A which is a static and I have variable B which is a non-static. So I want to create objects I want to create three objects. One is B obj equal to new B. Okay, my second object is B obj1 equal to new B. And my third object is B obj2 equal to new B. Right now we are dealing with static variables as well as the non-static variables. What would happen when I start creating an object? If you see, I have started creating three objects. So obj is the first object, obj1 is the second object, and obj2 is the third object, right? So now you see what would happen behind the scenes. The moment I start executing this code, okay, something would happen in the memory level. We will understand what would happen. So this is the thing that we are discussing this for the first time. Try to pay some attention. Okay, now we know that the execution will start from the main method. Okay, now the object creation is happening, isn't it? So because of the new keyword, an object will be created, right? An object will be created in the heap area. So this object is always going to store the instance variables. What is an instant variable that we have? B is the instance variable, right? B equal to 200. Okay, it will always store the instance variables, no doubts about it. An instance variable will be stored. What is the next instruction, right? What is the next instruction? B obj1 equal to new B. So before even creating an object, okay, you have to understand that we have a static variable. These static variables are recognized and executed. Look at my point. Look at the theory that I have just given. The static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory. What does it really mean? You save this code, right? Usually in the beginning you would save this code as b.java. So we know these things already. b.java. After saving this code, okay, you give this code to the compiler for the successful compilation, isn't it? So compiler will take the source code and it will generate the dot class file, isn't it? So b.java will be given to the compiler and compiler is going to generate b.class file. b.class file, right? After the successful compilation, and you need to execute the dot class file. So to execute this dot class file, the JVM comes into the picture, isn't it? JVM will come into the picture. JVM, right? So to execute the dot class file, what is the typical command that you would put in the command prompt? Java space B, right? And because of this command in the command prompt, the b.class file will be loaded inside the JVM. At the time of loading the dot class file, okay, at the time of loading this dot class file, if there is any static content, okay, if there is any static variable, so I am talking about this variable, which is a static variable. If there is any static variable, that will be recognized and executed. Right? So inside the JVM, there is an area called the method area. Okay, there is a part called method area. We have discussed this thing. There is a part called what? There is a part called the method area. Okay. The static variables will be first recognized and executed, or else you can assume it like the static data, the static variable will be stored in the method area, like a equal to 100. A equal to 100. So this is the method area. Method. Okay. So these things are just happening at the time of loading the dot class file to the JVM. Static variable is recognized and executed in the method area. So the data has been stored already. After storing this data, then the main thread will be created. This main thread will get access to the main method and to execute all the instructions, right? Main thread will get access to the main method. So what is the first instruction? Okay, first instruction is object creation. Okay, object is created. After the object creation, the static data is the shareable memory for all the objects. Okay, this variable will be shared to this object. You will understand this better. Okay, let me complete this. After this, second object is created. Okay, and second object is what? this is obj. This is just obj, isn't it? Name of this object is obj. The second object is obj1. Okay, and it is also going to store the instance variables, which is what, b equal to 200. Okay, what is the third instruction? Okay. And for the second object also, this static variable is shareable to the second object also. If you create 100 objects, the static data is shareable to all the 100 objects. Okay, now next let me do this. Then what is the third line? B obj2 equal to new b. For every new keyword, a new object will be created. It's just like a memory allocation. So here you have what? obj2, right? And again, this new object is going to store the instance variable b equal to 200, and the static variable is shareable to every object. This a is available for the obj. Okay, the variable a, which is a static variable, is available for obj1. It is also available for obj2. Or for all the objects, the static variable is shareable for all the objects. Okay, your observation has to be what? You have the method area which is going to store the static variable, and you have another area which is called as what? Another area is called as the heap area. So this is the heap area which is going to store the objects. So this area is called as heap area. Both are part of JVM, heap area. Right, now you see, I just want to do a small manipulation. Okay, now go back to my code. What I want to do, the moment I start doing something like let me say obj, by using the reference variable of obj, I want to modify the static data. Okay, let me get access to obj.k equal to, I just want to modify it to 1000. Look at this line. Okay, what I am modifying, by using the reference variable obj, I am getting access to the variable a, and I am trying to modify it to 1000, from 100 to 1000. Right, so let me also override the toString method to display the data, actual data in the console. Public string toString. Okay, this toString has to return what? It has to return the exact value of a in the current object. Let me take something like this. Exact value of a in the current object. Okay, and exact value of b in the current object. Okay, let me run this code. System dot out dot println. So what I want to do, I just want to print the reference variable of obj. Okay, let me execute this. Java C space b dot just 1 minute, guys. Java C space b dot Java. The system is very slow. Am I missing something? A plus a
got
taking a lot of time. Space. A equal to 1000, b equal to 200. So let me make it a little bit organized. A equal to b equal to 200, a equal to. Okay, don't worry about this toString method. You are just trying to print the exact value that is available with the variable a and the variable b. Now see these two lines. I have just added these two lines, right? So let me use the paint screen. Now focus on these two lines. Okay, what are these two lines? Okay. What is the first line? I am doing the modification on a variable. So look at this line. I'm doing the modification of each variable, a variable, obj dot a, right? So obj is here, right? Obj is, I'm talking about this obj. Okay, with the help of your obj, I'm getting access to the static variable. I'm just getting access to the static variable indirectly, right? Because with the help of obj, I said no, the static variable is available for, it is shareable data for all the objects. Even if you create 100 objects, if you have one static data, that will be available for all the objects indirectly. That is why it is called as what? The static variables are shareable data. I'm just taking the reference variable obj. I'm trying to modify the value 100 from 100 to 1000. Okay, so let me do that modification. If I just modify this, 100 becomes 1000. 100 becomes 1000. This latest 1000 is again available for all the data. It's just like you're trying to modify the static variable by using one object reference variable. But because of your action, the changes are applicable. Okay, the changes are reflected, are available to all the objects. Okay, if you take the reference variable obj1 and you can try to modify this static variable by using any reference variable of an object. You can use either obj or obj1, obj2. If you use obj2 and if you try to modify the static variable a, okay, after the changes, that changes is available for all the remaining objects. Okay, let me do some other thing. So in this case, what I want to do, see, I want to do something like obj dot a equal to 1000. After this, I want to do like obj1 dot b equal to 200. After this, I want to do like obj2 dot b equal to 300. Okay, I have just added these two lines additionally. Okay. So these are the two additional that I have just added. Okay, what is the first line? First line says, try to modify the value of b that is available in obj1. So where is obj1? So this is the obj1. By using this obj1, I just want to modify the value b, which is what? Okay, it is already 200. Okay, let me take it as 2000. Let me take it as 2000. Okay, I want to change it to 2000. Okay, what happens? Obj, the value b needs to be changed from 200 to what? 200 to 2000. If I try to change the instance variable, that changes is available only for that object, only for that particular object. Now look at the next line. What is the next line? Obj2 dot b equal to 300. Where is obj2? This is obj2. Dot b is what? 200 has to be changed to 300. Okay, so instance variables are like, if you want to make any changes, that changes are available only for that particular object. Okay, if I am just printing what? If I just try to print the reference values of obj1, obj1, obj2, obj1, obj2, right? I will be getting the output like this. Now look at this output. Now look at this output. The variable a is the static variable and it is remaining same. But the variable b, the changes for the variable b is just the changes are made with respect to the individual objects. So if I make any changes for my variable inside the object, or else if I make any changes for my instance variables, the changes are applicable only for that specific object. These changes are not transmitted to other objects. If I make a change for my variable b with respect to obj, okay, these changes are limited only to this object. But whereas if I want to make any changes for my static variable, I can use any reference variable. I can either use obj or I can either use obj1 or I can either use obj2 to do the changes. right? If I make a change by using any other reference variable, that changes is shared to all the objects. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, if I let me add the last line, if I add the last line something, right? Okay, let me say by using obj2, this time I'm using obj2 dot, I'm getting access to the static variable and I'm saying something like 1111. Okay, look at this last line. The moment I start performing the changes, okay, this is the last line that I have added. Okay, obj2 dot a. Where is obj2? This is obj2. Okay, I'm getting access to the static variable indirectly, right? I am just making changes like what? This 100 is becoming what? 100 is becoming 1111. 1111. Okay, and if you print the latest value, this 1111 is the changes are transmitted to all the remaining objects. But I have tried changing this by using one object reference variable, but in turn, okay, the output is like the changes are available for all the objects. So that is why the static data is shareable. You can do the changes by using one reference variable of an object. Okay, but those changes are transmitted to all the remaining objects as well. Whereas if you make changes for any instance variables, those changes will be applicable only for that object. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? The difference between static and instance. I'm just giving justification for this line. What is the line that I have mentioned here? Okay, the static variables are recognized, not this one. The static variables are shareable data which would be shared among different objects. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Everyone? Hello? Yes, no? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Shareable. Okay, so now you answer this to me. What if I do a change like, okay, let me remove this. Let me remove all this. Let me remove all this. Okay, now you see, 100 is assigned to value, value 100 is assigned to the variable which is static variable, right? I just want to modify. Now, for any static data, for any static variable, I can do modification in two ways. What is the first way? First way is, the syntax for first way is, okay, create an object, and take the, use the reference variable. Create the object and use the reference variable to get access to the static data. Access to the static data to perform the modification. Example. So we have a class like this. Create an object aobj equal to aobj equal to new a. By using the reference variable, get access to that static data, and you can perform the modification. This is the one way. First way. What is the second way? Second way is like, use the class name, get access to the static variable, and perform the modification. Equal to perform the modification. So these are the two ways. So let us understand about second way. I can just use the class name dot, what is the variable name? Variable name is a, right? I can do the changes like, let me change it to 123. right? The moment I start printing system dot out dot println, okay, obj obj1 and obj2. So the answer would be what? Obj is going to print what? The actual value of A and actual value of B. What is the latest value of A now? Static data, right? So 100 becomes 123, right? This 123 is available for all the objects. 123 is available for all the objects. So because it is a static variable. And if you see the instance variables, if an objects will be created for each and every new keyword, inside that object, every object is going to have a separate data, which is what? B equal to 200, B equal to 200, B equal to 200. If you make any changes by using any reference variable for the instance data, that changes will be applicable only for that reference variable. It will not be transmitted back to other objects. If I just execute this, output is going to be like this. See 123, 123, 123, B equal to 200, B equal to 200, B equal to 200. At the moment I start doing something like, now you tell me the answer. I want to say obj dot A, not A, obj dot B equal to 10, obj dot obj1 dot B equal to 20. Now can you tell me the answer? You can tell me. By this we can conclude the static variables. Hello, you want me to explain this? Hello.
123.10, 123.20.
123, correct. 123.10, 123.20, correct. And 123.200, correct.
200.
Correct. Java C space B dot Java, Java space B. 123.10, 123.20, 123.200, right? And also, right, see the changes I am making by using the reference variable. I am getting access to the instance variable, right? These changes are limited only for that object. But the moment I start changing, for example, if I do something like obj, I'm taking obj1, but instead of getting access to the instance variable, I wanted to get access to the static variable. I want to perform the modification like 0. Okay? If that is the case, so this is going to make a lot of difference. So you are taking obj1 as a reference variable and you are modifying the static data. This is the static data. This is the static data. You're trying to perform the modification on top of the static data. Okay? The A becomes 200. The A becomes 0. Right? And the remaining object, the value B will be, it is going to, you will get to see in the console for the respective objects. For example, inside obj, you have some other value for B. Inside obj1, you have some other value for B. Inside obj2, you have some other value for B. It is not shareable. This is the shareable. That's why when you make changes on one variable, by using one reference variable, the changes is getting transmitted to the remaining object references as well. A equal to 20, B equal to 100, A equal to 0, B equal to 10, A equal to 0, B equal to 20, A equal to 0, B equal to 200. Right? So now let's try to understand a bit complex problems. Okay. So I'm going to give you the proof. Instead of taking the value, I'm taking the method itself here. I want to take the method itself, m1. Right? What is this m1? Okay, let me build that method. So I have a method m1, right? My method is going to return an integer value. something like 100, and since this method should be a static method because you are assigning the returned value to the static variable. So I want to name my method as the static method. Static, return type is integer, okay, and name of the method is m1, and if you, whenever this method is getting called, it is going to return 100. Okay, just want to keep a simple system.out.println statement, simple system.out.println statement, and inside this I just want to execute static right. So if I ask you how many methods are there in the class B, you should be answering what? You should be answering there are two methods. One is the main method and second one is the static method. How many variables are there in the class B? You should say only one variable. What kind of variable is that? You should say it is an instance, it's a static variable because you are using the static keyword. It's not an instance variable, it's a static variable, right? Now I am not calling this variable, I am not calling this method. Try to understand. I'm not even calling this variable, I'm not even calling this method. If you look at the main method is empty. Can someone tell me what could happen if I execute this code? Anyone who can answer this? What would be the output if I run this code? Can anyone answer this? This is also
Static context.
correct. Static context. You might be thinking, so in the interview room, they would post this question in the chat box and they would ask you what would be the output, right? People who think a lot, what they would say, sir, the output is going to be, I mean, you don't see anything in the console because there are no instructions in the main method. So that is the wrong thing. That is a wrong way of assuming the answers. It's a wrong way of guessing the answers. Why? Because the moment you start finding the static variable, you should start thinking in a different way. What did I just mentioned? Static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory, right? When the dot class files will be loaded at the time of execution, right? If I just take this data, and if I just put it in the paint screen, okay, I'm just putting in the paint screen. So we know the job. What is the first job? The file has to be stored with .java extension. Okay. What is the second one? We need to give this to the compiler, right? Compiler will come into the picture. Okay. To perform the compilation, you need to give a command like java c space the file name .java, which is what b.java. At the moment to start giving this, this b.java file will be loaded inside the compiler. Right? And it is going to generate what? b.java will be converted to b.class file. Okay. So compilation part is done and there is the execution part is pending, which is what? Which is the JVM is waiting to execute this code. You need to instruct the JVM to load the .class file. How you can give that instructions? You have to activate the JVM by giving the command like java space the respective .class file name, which is b. Because of this command, the .class file will be loaded. Okay, going to get loaded inside the JVM. At the time of loading this .class file, right, there is any static variable. Okay, at the time of loading, it is happening the same time. At the time of loading this, okay, and it will try to identify is there any static variable in the given code. There is one static variable. The static variable. Okay, and it will try to look for the method area because method area is going to store the values for the static variable. Method area, right? Okay. So there is a method area here. What did I just say? The static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot. At the time of loading this, we look for the static variable. Of course, there is a variable A. Right, variable A is there, but it has no direct value. Okay. It is depending upon the method m1. After executing this m1 method, that m1 method is going to return a value. That value will be stored here. So there is a method call internally, right? That's a method call internally. Method call is happening internally. M1. Okay. The first instruction is what? Static context, right? So it is a simple system.out.println statement. So static context will be displayed in the console. Static context will be there in the console. You get to see this static context in the console. Now you can confirm that when you look at this in the console, we are sure that the static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the JVM method area, right? After this, secondly, what is second line? There is an expected return value which is 100. This 100 will be transmitted back and stored inside the variable A. The variable A. Okay, now the variable A is going to get 100. Right? So if you see, after this, the main thread gets created. Okay, main thread gets access to the main method. Okay, however, inside the main method, there are no instructions to get executed. It is completely empty. Even though it is empty, in the console level, you will see something what static context. Right? How this got executed? Because what is the takeaway here? The static variables are recognized and executed at the time of loading this. The moment the byte dot class file is loaded, static variables are recognized and executed. This is the ideal proof for that. Even though you don't have nothing in the what we call as main method, you get to see something in the console, static context. But inside the memory level also something is happening. Okay, to understand that it is a proof that in the memory level something is happening, I have just added the system.out.println statement so that we can conclude the static variables are recognized and executed. Let me run this code. Static context. Are you getting this? So you see nothing in the main method, but still you are seeing something in the console because of the static variable. Are you getting yes, no? Everyone?
Yes, sir.
Right, now you answer me. What if I do something like this? Static integer b equal to. Can you tell me the answer?
Static under 2 times output.
Static context 2.
So we are not doing anything. So ideally, when someone is very new to Java, if you remember my previous discussions, I used to say that all the instructions only in the main method will get executed. But from now onwards, you start considering the static variables as well, right? So that our thinking has to be different from going forward. So I have added a new thing which is called as the static variable. It has the highest priority. Then the control will be transferred to the main method. These things are happening because of the dot class file. These things are happening because of the main thread. Okay. So main thread will be created after loading the dot class file. Yes or no? Main thread is created after loading the dot class file, right? So dot class files are taking care of these jobs. Dot class file is actually doing this job. Right? So now you tell me. Okay, let me remove this. 100. What will be the answer? Run this code.
Nothing.
Nothing, but in the memory, in the console level, nothing. But in the memory level, these static variables are executed. Understanding my point? The memory level, the values are already assigned. See guys, if I am saying something like integer c equal to 200. So this is the instance variable. This is non-static variable, instance variable. Until and unless you create an object, there is no scope for this data. Only this data will be recognized only when you create an object. Only when I do obj equal to new b, right? The instance variable will be recognized and placed in the object. If you are not creating any object, there is no scope for this. But for the static variable, it's not like that. Even though if you're not getting any objects, dot class file is ensuring that the data is getting stored in the method area. Dot class file is ensuring that the data is getting stored in which area? Method area. Right? But for instance variable, it's not like that. To store this value, object creation is mandatory. If you're not creating any object, nothing. It is just like a, it is just like an entry. That's it. It has no scope. You're getting what I'm trying to say? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Understanding, no? Now let us try to. We have understood about what is the static variable. Now what is the next thing? Next thing you have to understand about what are static methods. Okay? The static methods are very simple. They are not recognized and executed. Okay. Static methods are just like they are recognized and executed at the time of calling that method. For example, I have a static method like static void m1. Okay, and let me do something like system dot out dot println. Okay, I just want to print like m1 method. Now understand one thing. I can just directly call that method m1. So object creation is not mandatory to call the static method. Why object creation is not mandatory? If I just execute this code, what you will see in the console? Java C space B dot Java, Java space B, you are getting m1. Because object creation is not mandatory because it is a static method and also you are calling a static method from another static method. So both are in the same context. You're calling a static method inside another static method. Right? So if that is the case, can I, for example, this is one of the ways. What is the other way? Either you can do this or you can use the class name b dot followed by the method name. This is also fine. This is also fine. Or if you are really interested to create an object, b obj equal to new b, you can also call the static method even with the help of the reference variable, which is what obj. Obj dot what is it? This is also completely fine. Semicolon. Java C space B dot Java. Java space m1. Okay. See, in how many ways the static method can be called? Static methods are called. Okay, let me give you that. Static methods are recognized and executed time of method call. Right? You can call the static methods in three ways. Okay. What is the way number one? By using the directly using the method name, first thing. The second thing is by using the class name. Third one is the help of object as variable. Okay. So yesterday we have discussed about non-static method, right? Let me take a non-static method. Okay, I want to name this method as method m2. Okay, this is a non-static method. Okay, and let me print like m2. Okay, I just want to call a non-static method from a static method. Just want to call a non-static method from a static method. Okay, so let me call the static method m1. Let us see the consequences. Okay, what would actually happen? I'm making a direct call to the static method, right? So inside this, I'm calling another method, but this method is a non-static method. Okay, so one shot, two birds, two different birds. So what would be the non-static method cannot be referenced from a static context. right? It is true even for the even for the vice versa. I mean, you cannot call a static method from a non-static. Non-static method M2 cannot be referenced from a static context. You are calling M2. M2 is a non-static method. It is not possible. Okay? If it is static method, it is completely possible. If it is not static method, it is not possible. Now do you tell me it is possible or not possible? What would be the output if I run this?
M2M.
No. Think better. What method I am calling? Tell me what is the method I am calling? M1, right? M1 is which method? M1 is a non-static method. This time I am calling a non-static method from a static method. Not possible, no. Object creation is mandatory. Not getting this. Java C space we don't. Now this time non-static method M1 cannot be referenced from a static context M1. M1 is a method which is of a non-static. You are calling this M1 is a non-static which is being called from a static method. Not possible. Okay? If you want to call any non-static method from a static method, create an object. Then you call that method. M1. You're getting this? You're dealing with non-static. But if it is a static, not required. If it is a static, blindly call that method M1 without getting an object, it is accepted. And again, there is a problem here. What is the problem? Calling M1 is okay. But this M1 is calling another method which is M2, which is of non-static. Not possible. This is not okay. It's not okay. Because they are different types. They are different in nature, right? It's not okay. How can I make this okay? I will have to just make it static. Now is this okay? Yes, this is okay. This is okay. Right? You are calling a method. You want to call a method directly. Ensure that that method is a static method. Of course, that is a static method. Okay, valid. It will be executed. Again, now you are calling M2. Make sure that that is also a static method. Make sure that this is also a static method. Right? M2. Static. Valid. Are you getting this? What I am trying to say?
Yes, sir.
Feeling okay. Now answer this question to me I will include the yesterday's topic as well as today's topic. Try to answer this. I'm saying integer a equal to 100. Okay, and let me take static variable will be equal to, okay, instead of taking 100, let me take m1. Okay, let me take m2. Okay, and let me take a block system dot out dot println. Okay, I want to number this block. Okay, let me number this as, okay, let me give the alphabet string a. Okay, and let me build the m1 method. Okay, this m1 method is returning what? M1 method is returning 100. Okay, this is of integer type. Let me create m2 method. M2 method is returning 200. Is of the static type. Static. Let me say a, b, okay, and let me say c. Okay. I will be giving you 3 cases. Okay. Now, if I just directly execute this code, what would be the output? If I just directly execute this code, please try this. If I directly execute this code, I am not placing any instructions in the main method. I am just directly executing this compilation execution. What is the expected output? Anyone? Anyone? Hello, you got my question, everyone?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What is expected output?
Uh,
Error.
yes, sir. A,
A, someone is saying
A
error.
and
Okay, let me execute this error. I don't know whether we are getting a syntax error or not. Let me. Okay, I missed something here. I missed something here. Correct. Error is correct. Correct. Okay, forget about this. This is syntactical error. I think my code is okay now. Static I have the instance block I have the method m1, I have method m2.
AC will print, sir.
AC will print.
Yes, sir.
Let's see. Java. Okay, what is the output we are getting? C. Why we are getting C? This is the case one. Okay, we are getting C. Let us analyze why we are getting C. Okay, we are getting this one, right? I will tell you. So no object creation is there. Okay, when there is no object creation, I mean, when there are no instructions inside the main method, focus on is there any static context? How many static contexts we have? We have a static variable, right? And we have a static method. We are not supposed to worry about the static method because you have to call that method. Okay? But static variables are not like that. You need to put special attention to the static variables. Static variables, right? So they are recognized and executed at the time of loading the dot class file to the memory, right? So this static variable b is depending upon the m2 method, the value which is returned by m2 method. Okay? When this m2 method is getting executed, okay, you see C in the console, right? And it returns 200. In the memory level, 200 will be stored. In the console level, C will be displayed. Got my point? So this is the instance block. Okay, you cannot, it will not get executed until and unless you create the object. Okay, now let me add one more statement here. I am adding the B constructor. Okay, so tell me I am adding D. I am adding D. So now I am creating an object B obj equal to new B. Now tell me what would be the answer. We have discussed these things yesterday. Respect to instance context. The object is created, right? Now can you guess the answer? So you need to guess the answer by considering the dot class file. Okay, at the time of loading the dot class file, what are the things that would happen? And after the main thread is created, what are the things would happen? Okay.
A, B, C, sir.
A, D, and C.
C. Yes, sir.
A, D, C. Okay, let us see. C space B dot Java. Okay. C, B, A, D. Okay, sir. All your doubts will be cleared with this one tracing. Just focus to this. All your doubts will be cleared. Okay, I'm just separating the main method. Okay. Let us keep it very simple. Compilation we do, like let us trace this from the JVM. We have the JVM. Could expect B dot class file, right? B dot class file. And you give the command like Java space B. Java space B. Okay. Because of this command, B dot class file will be loaded first. Okay, loaded first. Time of loading, we'll check for any static context, especially for static variables. And also static block also. Forget about that. For now, keep focus on static variables. You have one static variable, right? So this static variable is internally calling a method m2, and that value will be stored on assigned to the variable b. Right? What m2 is returning? So call will happen to the method m2. M2 is here, no? M2. The call will happen to method m2. Right? So first statement is what? C will be displayed in the console. Right, and this is going to return 200. This 200 will be stored in the variable b. Okay, done. This is done. There is no other static context. Okay, we have static method, and to execute this, you need to do a method call. Okay, this is done. After this, main thread will be created. We have completed discussion on top of the dot class file. Now the main thread will be created. Main thread gets access to the main method, right? So now yesterday, I think in the 2 days ago, like in previous sessions, right? I have said for the new keyword an object will be created. Forget about the object creation, right? And okay, let me create an object. Okay. And while creating this object, it is going to allocate values for the instance variables. Yes or no? What is an instance variable that you have? Okay. A equal to m1. A equal to m1. Right? What is m1 call? M1 method call will happen. Okay. It has to print what? It has to print b first. Okay. Then the value 200 will be returned, right? Value 100 will be returned and assigned to what? The variable a. Right? Next thing, if there is any instance block that will be executed from top to bottom order, right? CBA, this will be executed. After doing all this, the constructor will be executed. I can also say that before executing the constructor, it will execute the instance variables and instance blocks. Now the constructor will be executed, B constructor. What is the value? D is the value. D is the value. Are you getting the same value or a different one? CBAD. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
I have discussed this already, but due to lack of practice, you are not able to recognize the answer quickly. Okay, if you do some practice, you will get this quick. This is how these are the things that will happen for the object when you create object. Okay, things will be happening in the heap area. For the dot class files, things will be happening in the method area. Okay. First, dot class file things needs to be understood. Then the main thread things has to be understood. The main thread things, okay, it depends upon the main method. Okay. Dot class file things, it depends upon the JVM at the time of loading the dot class file. That's it about this section. Okay, tomorrow we will understand about the two things. What is that? We will understand about static blocks. Static blocks it is very easy. If you understand static variables, static blocks are very easy. Then we will understand about static input. Okay, I thought to complete this in the today's class only, but this input is little bit a complex topic. This we need 45 minutes to complete this. Okay, so you use this in the real-time applications. So I think I need some more time for this. Not tomorrow. We will meet on Monday. Okay? Monday evening. Okay. If you have any questions,